Thank you very much. I'll start by saying thank you for coming and hello everyone online. I'm Michael. I'm a senior learning designer at King's College in King's Digital with a specific remit for international collaborations. Felix, you want to?
Hi everyone, I'm Felix. I'm a senior lecturer in transnational education. I'll be about this program.
So, well, there we go. All right. So Felix and I have been working on a set of projects under the umbrella of the Afe Babalola set of projects with the Afe Babalola Centre at and what we're going to do now is just talk you through a prototype of the program that we've created and a bit of sort of evaluation and feedback we've had on that. And we're going to focus on our collaboration in particular, because Felix as the academic subject matter expert and myself as the learning designer, we thought it was a really interesting opportunity to draw out some reflections on how we've worked together, what we've produced. As we'll talk to you about now, this project is a little unusual for King's, so we've come across some interesting challenges, and how we've met them will hopefully be quite interesting to explore, especially through the lens of this collaborative exploration. So, start with, this is what we're going to do. We'll talk firstly about what is the Afe Babalola Centre, what is it, where did it come from? We'll talk about our postgraduate certificate, our PG Cert in online learning and teaching, which is what we've created the prototype for, and we're going to do a bit of a demoing for you shortly. And we'll talk about how we've collaborated on a few different examples, specific steps, and what's come out of our conversations and what we've produced. We'll focus in a little bit on a really strong theme through everything we've done, which is embedding reflective practice and metacognitive skills. And then we'll touch on the evaluation process, which I have to admit, the transparency at this point, when we first put this in, we thought would be a little bit further along than it is now. But things being what they are, I don't need to explain to anybody here. We're currently sort of in the middle of the evaluation rather than sort of towards the end. But we do have some interesting insights to share with you, and we'll finish off with some next steps where we're going with the program. So I've got my laptop here, and I keep going to the next key on the laptop instead of the next key on the keyboard. So please bear with me if I'm like, why isn't the slide not changing? So first of all, the Afe Babalola Centre has been set up with a donation from Ari Afe Babalola, who is a prominent Nigerian lawyer and philanthropist. It was established in 2023, and we are working on a number of different strands, all of them aimed towards making education more accessible for young Africans who otherwise would not have access to these opportunities. So the programs that we're creating are entirely online. There might be discussions about where there might be blended elements, but the main thrust of what we're doing is online. And the aim is to be able to provide educational opportunities that will firstly enable university access, and also as a secondary point to sort of increase employability as well. We started with the development of a PG Cert. Felix has been brought in as the module lead, the program director on the PG Cert. I'll hand over to him now to talk through some of the key principles of the program. All right, Felix.
And so this is just one part of the things the Afe Babalola Centre for Transnational Education is doing. Afe Babalola, who generally funds this, is actually a graduate from his university. The program is a fully online. It's meant to train teachers who are going to be delivering some of the other programs we are developing in the center. It's a 60 credit. We are starting with 4 compulsory modules, and it's going, in fact, major favoring or any equivalence in different higher education context. So the idea is to be able to train teachers who will be delivering content in their own contexts. And we are targeting specifically learners in an African context. So we are kind of trying to give them the skills to be able to deliver learning in a way that is responsive to the challenges of the context where they are going to be. Now, obviously, being in Africa is also a kind of an umbrella because there are different aspects to each of the contexts in Africa. So we want them to be able to respond to their local context as well in the delivering of the program. So we want them to have a knowledge and understanding of online learning, but also to be able to design learning and eventually deliver it. But as we said, of course, this is a challenging context. So there are likely to be changes in the context, and they are likely to face new challenges as they move along and the need to learn. So we are embedding that ability to learn on the job. So to be able to continually develop as they move along, because there are going to be new challenges they will be facing in their journey as educators. So we are also trying to make sure that they are not just delivering education. At least one of my main concerns about education is that we tend to focus on knowledge and forget that people who are actually learning want to do something with that knowledge. So part of the program is also to be able to make sure that these teachers we are training are able to support, to mentor their students into doing something with whatever they are learning in that context. So when you deliver a program, you have to think about that. That's basically the essence of what we're doing. Now, so we have, I've mentioned a little bit, 4 modules. We are starting with a general exploration of learning theories, trying to get them to understand what it is we mean by learning. How does learning differ when you approach it from different viewpoints or different perspectives, i.e. theoretical lenses. And then once we have that kind of base, then we can move into what does then, if we know learning as this, what does it look like when we go into an environment, an online environment? And obviously, since we are talking about a challenging context, most of the learners are likely to come from technologically under-resourced contexts. So what online learning would look like in this kind of context, and how do we design for a context like this? And so these are some of the things we're trying to respond to and embed in the program in a way that brings back what we are talking about as a responsive program, a context responsive program. Then that, of course, is going to allow us then to jump into the career development aspect, because we are teaching people we probably will never meet face to face, and they will be teaching people they may never meet either, but we also have these people are giving the skills, competencies, and abilities that would enable them to succeed wherever they are. So if I'm doing a program here at King's, I'm teaching students in maybe Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or South Africa. How do I ensure that I can still mentor them so they succeed in London, but actually in Durban, South Africa, or maybe in Nakuru somewhere in Kenya? That is one of the. To do this, of course, we are trying to design the program, at least in what we believe is a pedagogical approach that helps us shape that by trying to embed local epistemologies in the program so that the student can relate it to what is happening in their context rather than what we have to assume happening in our own context. But also trying to respond to this from a technological point of view, because we know the technological environment is going to be different from what we have, and then we are designing the program in a way that takes that into account. And so which, in other words, we're trying to be a lot more inclusive, learner-centered, and trying to ensure that what we do does have value to wherever it reaches the learners, wherever they are. And so the program essentially is built around a co-design process. We're bringing in, we have worked with different partners to help develop the program in the way that they feel allows us. This has gone through the different processes, discussions, interactions with educators in this context, some of these contexts. And we're trying to make sure that, that those kinds of interactions have shaped in a way how we design synchronous and asynchronous. So we're talking about, how do we take into account the time element, the place, we want to adapt it to that, but also want the content to remain quality. So that kind of like, it has to be high quality content as well. So the fidelity aspect to that. But at the same time, we want the students online to have the same experience, the human connection that we would be able to have. And that is something challenging to build into a program, especially if you are going to work with people in a context that is a little bit challenging technologically. So those are some of the things we're trying to work on, and that involves making the program a little bit more flexible, adaptive to personalizable some of the experiences and activities. And we're also jumping onto the AI bandwagon, and we are creating a customized GPT for the program as well to be able to help them interact as part of engagement as well. So we have inclusivity and accessibility aspects to the program, and Michael is going to talk about that when he talks about the resources as well, the media, the good resources we are bringing into the program. And we are also trying to, again, we're teaching teachers. The literature is not decisive on whether teachers go do what they're told, but we know that the teachers serve as role models for good examples of bad examples of what is. We're trying to take that into account as we create this learning experience for the students. And that means obviously getting them to reflect on their experience, and we do that together as well, because we don't want to tell them, you go and reflect, without ourselves being able to say, we are also doing the same thing. Yeah, we're trying to practice what we preach. And that involves collaboration as well. So we are going to be using examples of our own collaboration. We're doing that now. Trying to use that as part of the whole package of what it means to learn online and to do this kind of experience.
Very much, Felix. Yeah. So we have developed a prototype of the first week of this PG Cert. And in the first instance, although we do have quite an extensive evaluation plan, in the first instance, Felix mentioned a co-design group who have helped us to shape our decisions, our design decisions. And if you'd like to know more about that, then there is a talk later this afternoon with our colleague Mike Bennett. But we have sent this prototype in the first instance to this co-design group for their feedback. What I'd quickly like to talk through now, so we've got 5 minutes, is a couple of examples of steps that we have created within the prototype, and a couple of bits of feedback that we've had so far. So we've been developing some media to sit within the first week. Felix, in conversation with one of our colleagues, talking about the broader sort of values and principles of the Afro Centre and of the PG Cert. The collaboration here, of course, is that Felix and I have talked about the prompts for those kinds of conversations and discussion. We've brought in our media team, and they've obviously been helping as well when it comes to questions of what works in conversation in that way. So we've had a lot of input there. Then once we specifically actually embedding that media, we've been very careful on the accessibility front, inclusivity, as Felix mentioned before, to make sure we've got some alternative formats here. The ultimate aim is to have the program available on the app, on the Moodle app, I should say, which will enable the learners to actually take that offline, which actually takes into account electricity, the unreliable electricity supply that a lot of learners will be trying to work in. So they'll be able to take that offline. That's a lot of the issues we've had there. The media team have been able to help us with is this sheer, very practical question of the size of these files. You know, how do you compress the video files down? Shoot in the first place in a slightly lower quality, for example. You don't need 4K. No one needs 4K really, but you know, make it a bit smaller, and it makes it a lot easier. In fact, a lot of people will benefit probably in your domestic audience as well. So from the bandwidth question and the reliable electricity question, we've got a bit of a sort of a workaround there. Downloadable audio as well. We've got some lovely feedback. One of our evaluators said that apart from the fact that the video served as a break from the text, said, I suddenly went from reading text to laying back, plugging my headset in and listening to an engaging conversation. That's what you want to get. So obviously what we were able to do here also was emphasize the educator presence, introduce the students to Felix, and introduce the students to our colleague Funmi, who's also quite key to the whole Afe Babalola endeavour. We, as Felix said, were able to demonstrate reflective practice in this way. Felix and Funmi talked about their own journeys as educators. That's sort of an enabler to help students to start opening up, telling their own stories, to really position themselves. And these sort of pedagogical storytelling, I think, are quite key to what we're trying to achieve here, to try to sort of really open up the possibility for learning narrative. This is, like Felix was saying, it's about demonstrating best practice. It's about showing them, the students how they might do this themselves, always conscious that they are going to go away and teach their own students. So we're hoping to be able to say, look, you've got all different formats, you've got your transcripts and subtitles and everything, but also the sort of the content is. If your content can bring out, that kind of comment that, oh, I'm so glad I read the text and then I watched this video and I felt like I could just lie down and listen to it. And another student said that it really demonstrated the human aspect of the program, but also encouraged them to engage in their own reflection. That was really, really encouraging feedback. I'll just move on quickly to the Learner Community Agreement, which is a step that we've included that sets out an agreement between students and instructors and everybody really involved in the development of the learning, that the students themselves can actually edit. So we produced this to sort of help build this learner community and to really give students a sense of ownership regarding the way that they get involved in their learning, and they set the expectations for the tutors as well as sort of laying down the rules. This is a collaboration going on here. Felix and I collaborated, obviously, regarding how to do this. There was a couple of questions we had. Do we do this we're working within quite a limited sort of palette within the Moodle system that we're building this in, because we've stripped it right back. Again, questions of bandwidth, questions of what can be made available offline in the Moodle app, questions of sustainability, because we want to make sure that what's actually going into this app is going to be updatable, is not going to break. So keeping it very simple, we needed to explore and experiment with a few different bits of functionality. Do we make this as a forum and just get students to post a few ideas once we've given them a draft agreement, or can we give them something more interactive? So we've tried a wiki component on Google, which has actually enabled that sort of collaborative document editing. So I'll quickly move on to saying a little bit about quizzes, and then we shall wrap it up and see if there are any questions. MCQs. We've used a lot of scenario-based MCQs to bring in, again, this storytelling element to really help the learners to see themselves reflected in questions that we've been producing. So, for example, basing this on a learning outcome that encourages students to interact in the discussion forums in a particular way. We've got a scenario in this MCQ where a student has written a set of different forum responses, and what the learner is doing is thinking about what's the best example, and then we've got some very comprehensive responses which help the learner understand why the distractors are not correct. These MCQs also got some nice positive feedback, with a couple of learners saying that they liked being able to get the feedback immediately, and that they wanted some more of these. So we'll definitely be embedding as many of these sort of things as possible, especially in with these learners in particular. I think that you can't always rely on having a lot of other opportunities for this kind of feedback. So being able to frame these kinds of MCQs, give the immediate feedback, and to really dive into the content whilst doing so, I think is quite valuable, quite appreciated from the feedback that we've received. So in terms of reflection, metacognitive skills, as Felix said, we are being very transparent with students about how we're reflecting as well. This whole process, the evaluation and the sort of the co-design element from the beginning, is all about showing students that we are open to co-creation and being humble ourselves, because we need to understand this context, and the only way we can do that is by taking a lot of feedback on board at every stage, from the beginning to this point of our evaluation. And in the future, as I said, we have several stages more of evaluation planned, from technical, pedagogical, to very practical evaluation that we're going to do to make sure that we are actually providing something that's going to meet our learning aims. Discussing our collaboration helps the students, as I've said, to also open up and think about and reflect on their own. Mentioned the feedback already, but so I think we'll move on to next steps. And, if you'd like to say something.
Maybe what we're doing after we're done testing the prototype, which has lots of purposes, really. As you've seen, we're asking students to do certain things on the platform, which is also another way of trying to find out whether a platform works as we want or we think it is going to work. So these kind of tests we've seen, quizzes, these are really basic questions we're asking them to see if we actually embed this in the proper content of the program. Will it work? Will they have the kind of experience we are kind of imagining in our heads? So we're going to be testing that, and once we've got the feedback from the prototype, then we're going to start going back to the user experience and everything to see, is the platform doing what we want to do? What should we do next? Of course, this is also going to shape how we package the whole program and how we present it to the learners when we finally enroll the actual students in September. And then we're also going to use this to build into that reflective aspect of the program, trying to use that to enhance how we reflect on the program and how we do that in a way that enhances students' experience. We're out of time, apparently.
Thank you very much.